Show on ITV.ie and Irish News Radio. Today is St. Patrick's Day, Sunday, and we will be talking about the biggest betrayal that had left Ireland in the mess, the Lisbon Treaty, and we will be talking about how the British are being portrayed, like what happened to the Irish. Now the Irish Leo going against the British, and the Irish getting the blame for it, and we will carry this, unfortunately. The British anger grows. They say too little too late. They can go and swing from a rope. 2 weeks to march to a protest. A message to Britain's politicians: we want Brexit, which we voted for, delivered. Attempting to betray the will of the people, we are prepared to stand up for what we believe in, fight for our independence, march to leave from the northeast city on Saturday morning, and will make its way to London over 14 days, arriving in the capital on the 29th of March, where a mass rally to take place on Parliament Square. Leave means leave. Tickets are all sold out for the 14-day event, but I think you can join in. But the ticket sold out is for the accommodation. They had accommodation and meals included for the 14-day tickets, but you can still join, but the actual tickets for the accommodation is sold out. But you presume you can find your own accommodation. It's going to be a huge event. As we think about Ireland on St. Patrick's Day and how we were portrayed like the British, and now we're getting the blame, well, because of Leo, and our politicians are creating this divide with the UK. Like Ireland, Ireland was the only country to put the Lisbon Treaty to a popular referendum in June 2008, and we strongly rejected it. However, Ireland's support was vital because of the Lisbon Treaty could not come into full force across the 27. Brussels then passed a secret plan to force the country to vote again. In an explosive leaked document entitled "The Solution to the Irish Problem," obtained by British media, organisations, French officials, now the EU, show that they have pushed Ireland into rerunning its referendum, opening the way for the treaty to come into force the following year. Europe offered Dublin a few promises in a bid to ensure its people vote in a favour treaty. The EU guaranteed that Ireland would not lose its own commission, and made a declaration that the country's neutrality and stance on abortion would not be affected by the treaty. Now we've seen how both of those, it's heartbreaking. The leaked document predicted Ireland would cave in a meeting of Europe's leading and would agree to hold a second referendum. And in October 2009, it was passed. But we have leaked videos to show that the boxes were taken out and exchanged on that. So that is how we were portrayed, and portrayed by our own governments as well. At the time they were quite frightened as well, but now we have complete treacherous. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, all of them don't vote. Vote for independence, vote for Gemma O'Doherty, vote, but do not vote for the main parties, and make sure you don't, because we are in an awful situation because of this. And we will be having a terrorist attack because of the amount of migrants. We are going to be a minority in our own country, our own ways. Everything will be forgotten because of this treaty. And this comes into full force in 2020, in a few months' time, where we will completely, there will be no rights. There will be no such thing as an Irish person. There will be no such thing as Irish heritage, our language, our culture. There will be nothing left. It's heartbreaking what's happened to this country, and nobody to stand up for it. The EU and Leo and Tusk try to stop Brexit, which is really upsetting, really angering the British. An EU push to make a bad Brexit deal, so to stop unhappy countries leaving, to show an example of the UK. So complete treacherous stuff going on here. Yeah, like on the St. Patrick's Day. And remember, we're celebrating Irishness. Now, it's not even, it was a day that we took from the Irish Americans. St. Patrick's Day is actually an American-Irish day, started in Boston. 100 years later, we took it on for tourism, but it's actually an American-Irish day to celebrate their ancestors. So it's very much their day, and it's about their ancestors. And little do they know, like the betrayal of what's happening in Ireland now. There will be no such thing as an Irish person. You'll find more Irish in America than you do in Ireland. I'm more proud of Irish culture and Irish ways. And we'll, as the future goes on, know more about Ireland and its Irish culture. Because we've been flooded. There will be no such thing as Irish in Ireland. There will be people who live in Ireland, but they're not Irish. They have no blood, no heritage, no culture belonging to this land, and nothing of our ancient ways or knowledge. The American Irish will have more blood and more culture and heritage to do with Ireland. I wish we could actually all, and Donald Trump allow us all go over, because at least we could make an Irish area over there. There is Irish areas over there, and live there, because of a treacherous government, it's gone. And it's heartbreaking to watch it go. And it's going to become a black or brown Muslim country, and I keep saying it. And that's what's going to happen to Ireland. And there's no stopping it. And I don't believe people will, and I've talked to Eileen and I know she believes that people will stand up. I don't see it. The way they even took the Lisbon Treaty, even reading through that, there wasn't a fight. Okay, they voted no and they didn't want it. But when it was passed again, there wasn't riots, there wasn't people, out there shouting how they've been portrayed, like the British. And whether we like it or not, the British are out there screaming. They're going to do a 40-day march. They're not lying down. And it's not going to be as easy to walk over them as we've seen. The EU had an easy ride with Ireland walking over Ireland to break our vote and to force us into force us into a treaty. Because that's not what the Irish people wanted. They wanted to stay in what at the time was the EEC, like a Norway deal, something like that. But that was not for us. We were forced in by the French officials now through the leaked documents. Heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking to have this super state, and that's what they want. And, the EU was first organised and thought out from an ex-Nazi leader. And you can very much see it, and that's why they're pushing their way into Eastern Europe. It's just land grab. And I don't see the Irish standing up. I think we are very, I know Eileen thinks that we have a temper and we're slow to anger and all the rest of it. I don't see it. I can't see people like the British are actually going crazy over this Brexit. If they don't get their Brexit, there will be a civil war. They will take to the streets. I don't think the Irish will. I mean, okay, they did it over water, but that's about it. We've so many traitors and so many people who so-called Antifa and INRA Ireland who are working for Brussels, who are getting paid to destroy our culture and nature and our country and our nationalhood, everything that belongs to the Irish people. They have no problem giving homes to the migrants, but there's well over 10,000 Irish dying all the time, and there's not a word said about them. It's like literally, oh, they died, never mind. And even some politicians come out and say, oh, the homeless like being homeless. Really, those women, single mothers or, mothers who are out there, they really want to do that with their children, their young children. Have you seen them? Have you gone to Dublin to see them? And I'm not talking about just the central city. I'm talking about all over Dublin. Every little town you go in, you see the homeless Irish. You don't see the foreigners there. You see the foreigners with the cars, and particularly if they're Muslim or I don't know where half of India seems to have moved into Ireland. Where the Irish, You go into the little towns and villages, they're on the streets begging for food. And it breaks my heart, absolutely breaks my heart. I was in town actually a while ago with an African friend of mine, and she was even shocked. She was like saying, you know, they were painted a picture before they left Botswana, and they were encouraged to come to Ireland. Like, you go in and told, oh, you know, you don't need a visa for Ireland and Canada, where would you like to go? They're encouraged to come over, and that you'll be sorted out as soon as you get over there. You don't need to have a job or anything. Everything will be sorted out when you arrive there. And she's like, even in Botswana, they wouldn't allow this. That you don't see the amount of homeless that you see, that you don't see the amount of poverty that you do in Ireland. And she's actually quite shocked about not just how poor it is, that she didn't believe, that she thought she was coming to this wealthy country. She's like, Botswana is like much more wealthier than Ireland. The other thing she found quite shocking is the amount of Africans allowed in with no records, nothing, no visas, nothing. And she was told me, she was like, there's criminals, everybody allowed into Ireland. They're told beforehand they don't need any visas for most African countries. Now it's funny because I was talking to some white South Africans and they can't even get into the country. But I've talked to black South Africans, they said you didn't even need a visa. They just got on a flight and had no problems. So why are the white South Africans being discriminated against? And they very much are. They're not allowed into the country. Their passports are worth nothing. They've been left to die and nobody cares. Nobody's outraged about the amount of killings or doing anything about them because their skin colour is white. There's extreme amount of racism against the white race now. And even when we look at that massacre and whatever, I don't know if I really believe it. I actually think it's a false flag. But it's those children who were blown up in England, and the words that came out was don't look back in anger, and they put, you know, policemen on the mosques. As soon as this happens, they put Gardaí on mosques in Ireland, miles away from the situation. Hundreds of miles away, like completely different. And they're putting Gardaí. If that bombing happened and it was New Zealand people and it was in a church, there would be no guards sent outside any church in Ireland, and I can guarantee you that. They would not be worried about the Irish safety. They are not worried about the indigenous people. They would not be worried about any church all over the world. But yet, this mosque is attacked and they're worried about the Muslims in Ireland. Do they ever worry about the Irish after attack after attack after those children were blown up in Manchester, which is a lot nearer than New Zealand? Do they put any Gardaí on our churches? No, nothing. Do they ring up and worry about, you know, how the indigenous Irish would be? No, nothing. Nothing. And attack after attack. Do they worry about all those grooming gangs? Do they send anybody around to check, you know, Muslim gangs talking to Irish children? No, nothing. But you can guarantee if it was the other way around, the Gardaí would be up around every mosque, making sure every Muslim was okay. And as it is, have you got your feelings hurt? Did anyone ever say anything mean to you? Was it on social media? Did they make a joke to you? Did you get your feelings hurt? And who was that? Let's police people's thoughts and feelings, because we can't let our feelings be hurt, because there's two situations that can happen here now. Either the people who are hurting your feelings may make you angry, so you go out and blow up people, or you know, you go out and you do some stuff like, you know, killing or raping, and that's because of those bad people who are saying bad words to you. Or the other thing that can happen with those bad words is that they develop into this man who goes and kills. And yes, that was all. He had all started with words. Hello? Like, seriously? What about all the words it says in the Quran to despise the Christians and the Jews, that they're pigs and monkeys? What about all those words? That book is an incitement to hate. That book is what hate speech is about. That book is the reason for all the terrorist attacks, again after again. And you put this man, now as I said, I don't even believe the story. I think it's a red flag to try and get everybody to so that they can actually arrest people now for words. But you put this man, and all of us Europeans, into a situation, a war zone, with no preparation on how the people would react, living in a third world country with third world mentality towards women and children. And you didn't think how people would react after rape, after gang rapes, after grooming gangs, after murder, after killing, after shooting, after being run down. You didn't think how it would affect those people watching all this. Now, the only people in Western world, really, that had been and lived through a war was Ireland. The rest of them had no idea of what it was like or had seen anything like that. How do you think they were going to react? I mean, I'm surprised. As I said, I don't actually even believe it. I think it's a red flag that there isn't more. And it's not because of people are saying bad words. It's because they're constantly in fear. They're in fear. They're in fear of going out. They know the polars there in Grafton Street is to stop terrorists driving down. They know in every country they have them. They know that it's coming. They don't even ask if. They know when. They don't know when. But that's the question on their minds is now, when is that going to happen? They're not questioning if anymore. It's when. And that is why you have this, if it happened, I don't believe it did. I'd say if people look into it, there's been researchers saying he's Antifa, and I'd very much well believe that. It was like the other American shooting who turned out to be an Antifa member. And it is a complete push to get to people so they can have a proper communist state, and nobody's allowed to speak on anything unless they want you to speak about it. Otherwise you'll be arrested for speech, for talking. But bombing and killing and raping, as long as your skin is brown and you're Muslim, then you're fine. I was watching, even reading comments on the Galway Antifa. It's connected to INRA. I think it's GAR, they call it. It's so-called anti-fascist. But how they were kicking people out of the group who were actually Muslim or brown or black, who didn't agree with abortion. Anybody who didn't agree with their stance. And it just shows you it's complete communism, Marxism, socialism, Marxism. And that's what it's about. You have to agree with them or you're out. And remember, we are living in the times, and I think you wake up and you get to the street, because there is one thing to remember, and Eileen does say this in fairness to her, that we are the masses. There's only a few of them at the top. And all you have to do is there has to be a lot of us stand up to say, no, our free speech shouldn't be taken away. So that if we want to say something, we should be allowed. And if it hurts somebody's feelings, well, then it just hurts people's feelings. That doesn't give them an excuse to go and blow us up. Or that doesn't give anybody an excuse to blow them up either. Words are words. It's like what you learn in school, If in that case, every child who was called fat or who was called whatever had a right to actually kill that person, or they they incited someone else to kill the person because they were fat, is ridiculous. Because there is no line. You can't actually kind of go, we'll stop it here, because people will pick on people for difference, whether it's the skin colour, whether it's the size of your ears, the size of your shoes, the way you wear your clothes, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you dress. There is no thing. People will, and they should have the freedom, because you can't police that anyway. Where do you draw the line of hate speech? I don't like your car. Suddenly, I suppose if you're the protectorate race like a Muslim, or an African, then that could be done as hate speech. Particularly Muslim are the #1 protected race. They're not even a race, but protected people. So if you went to a Muslim and said, I don't particularly like that car, you could be done for hate speech now. Like, where do you stop the line? I don't like your shoes. I don't like your hair. I wouldn't, or you be going all be too frightened to actually give your opinions on stupid things. You know, it's ridiculous. Every child will be monitored in school. I didn't like your lunchbox. I don't like your lunch. I don't like your sandwich. I don't like your shoes. Are you going to police? Like, this is, go in and police everybody who says everything nasty. Or you get to realise that people say nasty things, and that's okay. And sometimes it's truth, and sometimes it's not. And that still doesn't give somebody the right to blow or kill someone up, or them to blow or kill you up because you said a nasty thing. They're just words. And that's what happens when you go to school. You learn that you will get bullied. You might bully someone, they will bully you. Most people have experienced bullies. It's not nice, it's horrible. But you know what? But majority of people don't go out and blow up the place. I was bullied a lot in school. And it didn't bring me out to hate or blow up things. A lot of people get bullied for whatever reason. 4 eyes, specky 4 eyes, too skinny, too fat. Anything can get you bullied in school. Anything. From, you know, your house, your home, maybe your car, anything to do with your parents, anything to do with your brothers and sisters, anything can get you bullied. Are we going to have these social justice going around and going into schools, going, oh, that's kind of nasty word there. No. We're going to prosecute this child. He called that child fat. That one said he was smelly. That one said he was stupid. That one, like, you cannot do that. You have to deal your children with the best equipment and say, you know what? That's going to happen to you. People are going to be nasty, but it's okay. And it's okay to feel hurt. It doesn't mean that you go in and you murder them. Okay, you know, if they're hitting you, you do defend yourself back. Again, thank you very much for listening on The Bon Marie Show on ITV.ie and Irish News Radio.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.